Good afternoon, everybody. Most of you know me. I'm Steve Wagner, president of the Armour Villa Neighborhood Association, and I want to thank you all for coming out today. This is a very special day for the association because 15 years ago, a young woman stepped up and said, we need to take our little 2 or 3 page mimeograph newsletter to another level. And I'm proud to say 15 years later, that's exactly what we've done. Due to Katherine Sutton's tireless efforts and wearing so many hats I can't begin to count them, we now have a 36-page newsletter that, as far as I'm concerned, is best in class of anything that's out there. What it does most of all, and what it has done consistently, it has brought our community together. It is a primary tool of communication within the neighborhood, but equally important, it's a primary tool for communication to our elected officials, to the police department, and to other associations. Throughout the years, we've grown the newsletter to its current 36 pages. We also put up a website. Again, Katherine oversees that. We developed the Facebook page. Again, Katherine oversees that. That Facebook page has been used on numerous occasions to keep people aware when we've had power outages, police emergencies in the area, and it's a great way to shut down the rumor mill and get the facts out. We've used it to work closely with other associations on larger projects that involve the city of Yonkers, and it's been so helpful to us in countless ways. And why that happens is because of the ridiculous number of hours that this woman spends. This has truly been, for her, a labor of love, from the photography to the typesetting to getting it copied and distributed. We have a lot of contributors who provide stories, and we cover all of our local events as well as some other events, but in the end, somebody has to pull it all together, and that has truly been Katherine's role, and she's done it brilliantly. She's a great designer, she's a great graphic artist, so we're blessed with all of those talents. Most of all, for me personally, she's been an enormous help to me as the person in charge of keeping the community focused on its core mission. I couldn't do what I do without her help and support and making sure that when something needs to get blasted out to the neighborhood through our emails, it happens right away in a timely basis. We talk, I can't tell you how many times a day, and it's because of that that we have what I believe is one of the tightest, most integrated communities in all of Yonkers. So I'm very proud of that. I'm extremely proud of Katherine and the work she's done, and I'm thrilled that Mayor Spano was kind enough, along with State Senator George Latimer and Assemblywoman Shelley Mayer, to come here today to honor her efforts. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Spano. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And it certainly is a pleasure to be here with my good friend, Senator Latimer, my good friend, Assemblywoman Shelley Mayer, and all of you. I would say welcome to City Hall. We love having guests. It's a beautiful building, isn't it? And there's a lot of history here. We love having you here. So thanks for don't be afraid to see Lucia, and she'll take you up to the council chambers and take a look around, see what's happening. But to Katherine, I love Katherine's expressions. I was watching you as she was speaking. It's classic, and I'll tell you, I like you. You're fun. I can tell. But 15 years later, you're still young, and as we all know, single-handedly responsible for making this a 36-page document. But on top of all that, you've done the biographies of 85 residents, the good works of over 300 residents, and examined the history of all 33 of your streets, photographed events, and architectural details of that beautiful community you live in, of Armour Villa in our great city of Yonkers. It's been so admired, your hard work, that I understand that other homeowner groups are looking to either steal you, copy you, get your advice, and have you part of their organizations as well. So I just want to say thank you. Your service community is exemplary, and that's certainly, we wish more people would do that, because it's telling the story about our city. telling the story about Yonkers is telling the story not just about George Washington riding into town to the Phillips Manor to pick up Mary Phillips and take her off to church at St. John's Church. It's about the beautiful communities that are a part of Yonkers, like Armour Villa and Crestwood and Colonial Heights and so forth and so on. It's a great city. We're on the move. There are good things happening. We want to keep it that way, and we want to tell the good, positive stories, and that's what you do. You're telling the stories about Yonkers. The unfortunate part about there's wonderful things about being so close to New York City. The unfortunate thing is that they're a city of 9 million, and we're a city of 200,000. And for us to get at the top of the news shows of 2, 4, and 7, we got to do bad things. So you are offsetting all that and letting people get a good education about the great things that are happening in Yonkers. Because on balance, every single day, more good things happen here in our community than not, and we just have to make sure that we let our residents know about it. I have here a proclamation on behalf of myself, the City Council, the members of the delegation that are here, but we're recognizing you today, and I'm sure they're going to speak on their own. And one of the fun things I get to do as mayor of Yonkers is I get to declare a day. And behind me is the mayor's office. We have a book, and in that book, they'll put the date, today's date, which is October 28th, 2015. They will put that Katherine's name there. It will be there forever. And so, when your grandchildren or great-grandchildren want to come take a look at the archives, they're going to see that on October 28th in the year 2015, it was declared Katherine Sutton Day in the city of Yonkers.
What do I have to do?
Assemblywoman Shelley Mayer.
Well, I want to echo what the mayor said, and Steve too. I mean, I think one of the wonderful things about it is the concept of neighborhoods and communities, which makes Yonkers a wonderful place, far better than people understand, because we have these vibrant neighborhoods and communities. You keep that so alive by having this rich newsletter that's actually in print and is mailed and is available in paper, which us older people like. But the idea that you help keep a community and a neighborhood alive, connected, we have so much of that in Yonkers, but very little of it is at the level that you have achieved. And I think that's such a tribute to you and to Steve and to your neighbors here in recognizing how valuable it is. So on behalf of the New York State Assembly, and Senator Latimer, if you want to share with me, or you'll have your own later, this is a citation for exemplary service, recognizing, and we'll read it, it's very long, all that you have done, small type, and really congratulating you for your efforts. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Steve, for making sure that we had this opportunity to make sure you're actually recognized. So congratulations to you.
Very lovely. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Katherine, we also have a wonderful citation from the New York State Senate, sitting in an office in Portchester right now, rather than in your hands. But it gives me a reason to come back to Armour Villa for this and for other reasons. When the mayor said, and he mentioned the reference of George Washington, when you're in an event like this, you think of what am I going to say, and how am I going to say something that's different from what other people say, and not sound like it's just a standard speech. And I had just been in White Plains over the weekend, where they had a ceremony honoring the Battle of White Plains, and so they had reenactors. There was a George Washington reenactor, and some redcoats, and some of the colonials, and you're looking at the backdrop of all the spires of White Plains while you're watching these guys with muskets. And so I was talking to the person I was standing next to, and I said, can you imagine what it actually was like in those days and what they prioritized? And so it led into a conversation about what our life is like today and how different it was from the colonial days. And we talked, as you do when you're in this line of work that some of us are in. We talked a little bit about what it was like from a citizen standpoint, the average person. And I realized as we were talking about that what the founding fathers and the founding mothers, but the fathers get all the credit for it, what they envisioned America to be like were people exactly like you. They didn't envision a political class of those of us who are in public office making decisions. They envisioned that individuals would take on responsibilities, and that was what would make the democracy flourish. And Ben Franklin, who himself was the Katherine Sutton of his day in terms of communicating, Poor Richard Almanac, you realize that is exactly what they hoped would happen in the years to come, that somebody who lives in an area, in a neighborhood, would care about their fellow neighbors, would care about their community, would use that caring to do something positive and constructive, which is what you've done. So there's a proclamation. It says some nice stuff in it. We don't get the power to declare days. Sometimes we do it anyway. But forget the proclamation. We stand in respect for what you've done on a human being nature. And we really do think that what you've done in your neighborhood is really exemplary. So congratulations.
Since we're sharing good news, and since I happen to have the three people who were most responsible for this news, I wanted to take one more minute, not to steal Catherine's thunder at all, but most of you know that a while back we had an incident in Armour Villa where one of our neighbors had someone come into their home as a trespasser, and she had to witness a lewd act performed in the privacy of her own home. I learned about this, and what I was shocked to find out is that the police officers who were there on the scene, as well as the assistant district attorney that the matter was referred to, discovered that there was a loophole in the penal law of New York State. There was no charge that could be brought for this person other than trespassing. So most of you who know me know I can be a bit of a dog with a bone. So I went and started researching penal law and discovered there's no such law anywhere across the United States. I then went and found UK case law and discovered there was a law in the books called trespass with intent to commit sexual offense. So now I had this great news, but I didn't know where to go with it. And to their great credit, I took it to both George Latimer and Shelley Mayer and said, this is an issue that I think needs to be addressed. They were kind enough not only to take it up, but they fought long and hard, first through the Senate and then afterwards through the Assembly. I was pleased to learn a few weeks back that it passed both houses, and then 48 hours ago, George was kind enough after the candidates' night that he attended to text me around midnight and say the governor just signed it into law. So as of November 1st, we have a lewdness law that will now make trespassing with the performance of a lewd act a Class D felony. And why that's important is because in the process of getting people to weigh in, the first person I reached out to was Mayor Spano. And to his great credit and his office's credit, within 24 hours, there was a letter going to the governor strongly endorsing the move. So to George, Shelley, and Mayor Spano, I thank them deeply from the bottom of my heart.
I'll be really brief. I just want to thank, this is such an honor that I never expected. I do have to tell you that my maiden name is Day. And so everybody knows me as Katherine Day Sutton, but of course today I'm now Katherine Day Sutton Day. So, so it's like seeing my name backwards on the certificate. I started this version of the Villa Voice right after 9/11. And I remember I was in the city that day and everybody in the office said to me they just wanted to go home. And they weren't sure they were going to get there. And I realized that home to my neighborhood was Armour Villa in Yonkers. And so that's why we focus only on the 4 streets that surround our neighborhood. I mean, have people say, why don't you write about what's going on at City Hall? And why don't you write about what's going on the river? And I said, really, because there's a Journal News for that. There's a lot of blogs. There's a lot of other newspapers. What we need to do is really focus on what we talk about over the backyard fence. And that, I think the main thing is it not only brings everybody together, as Steve said, but it gives you a great sense of security. When you know who your neighbors are and you can call them at 4 o'clock in the morning, then you feel a lot more secure about where you live. And building up relationships with people outside our neighborhood is perfect, obviously City Hall, the police department. But it's all about communication. And this for me is not a hard thing to do. This is a labor of love. I enjoy doing this. As I say to people, I don't ski, I don't go to Disney World, I like doing this. And so, that's why I think it works. And when we started, people were interested. But as it grew, and I said the most important thing about this newsletter is momentum. It comes out on schedule every other month. And when people started to realize it was a regular thing, Then they started bringing me ideas. So a lot of the ideas that you see in this are ideas for an article, suggestions for someone to write about. We now have people who contribute articles to the newsletter, so it isn't all about me. I'm just the little woman behind the curtain, like the great and wonderful Oz, that's me. So I do really appreciate this. I'm not used to getting awards. This is the first thing I've ever won, so to speak. So thanks again, and I'm really overwhelmed.